Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're going to dive into something super practical, how to talk about your day in English. This is perfect for beginners who want to build their confidence in daily conversations. Let's break it down into 3 parts: morning, midday, and evening. Ready? Let's get started. First up, the morning. This is all about your routine. You could say something like, I usually wake up at 7 a.m. Then, you can talk about getting ready. For example, first, I brush my teeth and wash my face. After that, I get dressed and have a quick breakfast, usually just some toast and coffee. How do you get to work or school? You might say, I take the bus to work, or I drive to the office. If you walk, you can say, I enjoy walking to school because it's good exercise. See? Simple sentences to describe your morning. Next, let's talk about the middle of the day. This period is often busy with work or study. When someone asks, how's your day going? You can reply, it's been pretty busy. I've had a few meetings this morning. Lunchtime is a great topic too. You could say, I usually have lunch around noon. Today, I packed a sandwich from home. Or, I'm going out for lunch with a colleague. You can also mention your tasks. This afternoon, I need to finish a report, or I have to reply to a lot of emails. Don't forget about breaks. I'm taking a short coffee break to recharge. These phrases are perfect for those quick chats around the office or campus. Finally, let's cover the afternoon and evening. As the workday ends, your conversation might shift. You could say, I finish work at 5 p.m. What do you do after work? This is where you can share your hobbies. For example, after work, I usually go to the gym, or I like to unwind by reading a book. Dinner is another common topic. You can say, I'm cooking pasta for dinner tonight, or my family and I always eat dinner together around 7. As the night winds down, you can talk about relaxing. In the evening, I enjoy watching a movie or listening to a podcast. And just before bed? I usually go to bed around 11 p.m. I like to read for a bit before I fall asleep. And that's it! A simple way to talk about your entire day, from morning to night. The key is to start with simple sentences and add more details as you feel more comfortable. Practice these phrases, and you'll be able to have these conversations with ease. Try describing your own day in the comments below using some of the phrases we learned today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more English learning tips. We'll see you in the next one.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we have a unique mission. We are taking a document that describes a highly specific, beginner-focused language learning resource.
Right, it's the Daily English Conversation, Wake Up to Bedtime Vocabulary Lesson from the It's Just English podcast.
Exactly. And we are treating it like a technical blueprint. We aren't here to analyze the English itself, but the methodology of instruction.
That's the core insight here, I think. This isn't just a lesson plan. It's a perfectly designed system for rapid foundational knowledge acquisition.
So our goal is to extract the universal principles of effective A1, A2 instruction that are kind of embedded within this structure.
Yeah, we want to understand how the creators designed a pass directly to core confidence and, immediate real-world use.
We're going to figure out what this structure tells us about gaining practical knowledge quickly, whether you're learning a language, a new piece of software, or even a professional skill.
Absolutely. The creators made these incredibly deliberate choices about topic, structure, and pacing.
And those choices, they reveal the fastest, lowest friction route to actually using what you've learned.
This blueprint is a masterclass in efficiency. We're analyzing every strategic decision.
Yeah.
Why they chose the daily routine, why they prioritize certain verbs, and why the whole delivery method focuses on, relaxation and repetition.
Every single element is aimed at helping a beginner succeed right now.
Right. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by information overload when you're starting something new, you'll find a powerful remedy in this methodology.
Okay, so let's start at the very foundation, the target audience. The material explicitly targets A1 to A2 English learners. We hear these designations all the time, A1, B2, C1. But for the person listening, what does being an A1, A2 learner actually mean in practical terms?
Well, that targeting is the single most important strategic decision they made, and we really need to clarify what that level represents. A1 is the absolute beginner, and A2 is what we call the elementary level.
The survival stage. I've heard that term.
Exactly. It's the survival stage. These learners have extremely limited processing power in the new language. It's like they're running a very complex program on a computer with very little RAM.
So they're focused on just core communication, simple sentences, present tense, that kind of thing.
Exactly. I drink coffee. Subject, verb, object. They could probably handle that.
But if I ask them, if you had drunk coffee this morning, would you be feeling more awake now?
Forget it. Total system crash. You've just introduced a conditional, a different tense. Their cognitive capacity for communication just shuts down completely.
So they're limited to what you'd call a closed system of learning.
Precisely. They can handle high-frequency vocabulary, simple yes-no questions, and basic declarative statements. They are not ready for nuance, for idioms, for complex grammar. They're just so easily overwhelmed.
So the moment you decide to target A1, A2, you've inherently decided that the focus must be ruthlessly practical.
Ruthlessly.
It has to be on use on successful, immediate deployment rather than on grammatical perfection.
And that success, that little win, that's the fuel for future learning. It's what keeps them going.
Because the risk is just too high. Otherwise, if you overload them, they just give up.
It's worse than giving up. They experience what we've talked about before, the raising of the effective filter.
Okay, let's nail that down for the listener. What exactly is the effective filter in this context? Is that just, the fear of sounding stupid?
That's a huge part of it, yeah. It's the psychological barrier that literally blocks language acquisition. It's the anxiety, the self-consciousness, the feeling of being judged.
The little voice in your head saying, you're going to get this wrong.
That's the one. And when an A1 learner encounters overly complex material, or when they try to speak and fail, that filter goes up like a brick wall. Their stress response kicks in, cortisol floods their system, and the brain redirects resources away from memory and learning toward, basic survival.
Fight or flight.
Exactly. You can't learn a language in fight or flight mode. So by targeting the A1, A2 level with these simple, achievable tasks, the instruction is specifically designed to keep that filter perpetually lowered. It's about creating an optimal, low-stress learning environment.
So you can't build a skyscraper on quicksand, and you can't get to fluency without surviving those first few terrifying weeks of conversation.
That's it. This phase is all about mastering the bedrock so they have the tools to survive a basic interaction and, just describe their own existence.
Survival.
Absolutely. Survival. Yeah. And that leads us directly to the next strategic choice they made, which is the topic.
Right. And here's where the blueprint gets really interesting to me. The subject they chose for this crucial foundational lesson is talk about your day. It focuses on vocabulary from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. They bypassed all the typical kind of high-stakes topics. Why not ordering at a restaurant or airport travel?
Because the power of the daily routine is just undeniable.
Yeah.
It's the most effective starting point for a language learner for, I'd say, 3 key reasons.
Okay. What are they?
Immediate relevance, high frequency, and its natural chronological structure.
Let's break that down. Immediate relevance.
Think about it. That restaurant interaction is momentary. It happens, once a week? Maybe less.
If you're lucky.
Right. But the daily routine, that happens 365 days a year. You live it every single day.
You're right. If I learn how to say, I brush my teeth, then I drink coffee, I can use that vocabulary and that structure every single morning. I don't have to wait for a special occasion.
It becomes ingrained through constant natural repetition. That's the immediate relevance. The vocabulary is also high frequency because it's tied to core human needs. Eating, sleeping, personal care, work, study.
So the words you learn are the words you'll actually hear and use the most.
When we analyze frequency dictionaries, the words related to these self-contained activities just dominate the top 1,000 most used words in English.
Okay, but wait, let me challenge that for a second. Doesn't focusing only on my routine limit my conversational range? What if I need to talk about, I don't know, my partner's day or a news story? Isn't this a little too inward-looking?
That's a powerful challenge, and it's a valid concern for, say, a B1 learner. But the limitation is strategically intentional for the A1, A2 stage.
Why?
Because the self-narrative, talking about yourself, is the safest and most reliable conversational starting point.
Safer how?
Because the learner knows the context perfectly. There's no ambiguity. They don't have to guess whether the waiter's happy or if the flight is delayed. They are the world's foremost expert on their own day.
Oh, okay. That reduces the cognitive load.
Massively. They don't have to spend any mental energy retrieving facts or context. They only have to spend that precious energy retrieving the language structure.
I see. So once they master I wake up at 7, it's a much smaller step to adjust that later to she wakes up at 7.
It's a simple grammatical adjustment, not a complete cognitive overhaul. They build the safest, most reliable script first. It establishes a baseline of successful, anxiety-free verbal production before they ever try to expand outward.
And that brings us to the third element you mentioned, the chronological structure.
Right. The routine acts as an incredible memory hook. That chronological flow, wake up, eat, work, rest, sleep, is a massive cognitive aid. Our brains are hardwired for sequences, for stories.
So we're not just memorizing a random list of verbs.
No, not at all. Language learning is often about mapping new structures onto existing mental frameworks, and we all live our days chronologically. So by structuring the lesson from wake up to bedtime, the learner is simply mapping new English words onto a universally familiar sequence of events they perform every single day without thinking.
It's like you're using a pre-existing, really strong mental scaffold. You don't have to build the filing cabinet. You just have to put the new English labels on the folders that are already there.
That's a perfect way to put it. And that dramatically enhances retention because retrieval is prompted by the time of day or the sequence of action.
So when the alarm goes off at 7 a.m., the learner's brain is primed.
Yes. What's the action for this time? Wake up. What's next? Brush teeth. The physical action itself reinforces the verbal command, and the core purpose is right there in the description, to help the listeners speak English about daily life. It's an incredibly clear, measurable, and achievable goal.
It promises immediate, low-stakes utility.
Exactly. So the strategic takeaway from this whole section is, when you're building a foundation in any skill, select a topic that offers that triple threat. It has to be universally relatable, chronologically structured, and immediately usable on a daily basis.
That's how you maximize relevance and retention while keeping that effective filter, that anxiety, as low as possible.
And that strategic choice is the reason this resource, this It's Just English podcast episode hosted by Nisha, actually works. It establishes a low-stakes, high-utility environment right from the very start.
Okay, so we've established the who and the what. The beginner needs simple, structured content about their daily life. Now let's dig into the actual toolkit they provided in this lesson.
The building blocks.
Right. Section 2 is all about the strategic selection of vocabulary, expressions, and structures. They promise easy daily routine vocabulary. What actually constitutes easy in this A1, A2 context?
In this context, easy is basically synonymous with high frequency and functionally simple. This is where the Pareto principle really comes into play.
The 80-20 rule.
The 80-20 rule, exactly. They are deliberately prioritizing the 20% of the vocabulary that will allow the learner to describe 80% of their day.
Okay, so let's map that out specifically. How does the 80-20 rule show up in this daily routine vocabulary?
Well, it shows up in the heavy focus on common phrasal verbs. The source highlights examples like wake up, get dressed, go to work, shut down, put away.
Phrasal verbs. That's interesting because they can get really complicated later on.
They can, absolutely. But at this stage, they are the essential high-frequency action verbs that are used constantly in spoken English.
So you're saying that teaching a beginner to say wake up is infinitely more valuable than teaching them arouse or commence the day?
Infinitely. If we look at, say, the simple process of leaving the house, the learner needs get up, put on their clothes, head out, shut down their computer. These are functional two-word verbs that carry a ton of meaning.
And their formal synonyms, arouse, dawn, depart, terminate, would require way more cognitive effort.
For far less communicative reward. The strategic selection here means prioritizing frequency and utility above all else. These phrasal verbs are the essential bricks they're going to use to build their first sentences.
This is such a powerful insight that applies to any skill. I'm thinking about learning a new software tool like Excel. You don't start by learning how to build complex macros or use pivot tables on day one. That would be insane.
You just quit.
You'd quit. You focus on the 5 core functions you need every single day: copy, paste, save, format cell, and sum. Anything else is just cognitive clutter for the beginner.
That is the perfect analogy. This strategic choice prevents cognitive overload. The beginner needs to focus their limited processing power on the structure and delivery, not on trying to recall obscure vocabulary.
They need that immediate reflexive recognition.
Yes. By limiting the vocabulary to the absolute necessities, they free up that precious mental space.
But of course, language isn't just single words, and they wisely move beyond that to useful expressions for talking about your morning, afternoon, and evening.
This is the critical shift. They go from learning individual bricks to acquiring, prefabricated wall sections.
I like that, prefabricated wall sections.
It's what we call chunking. And it is a massive shortcut for the learner. These contextual expressions are ready-made, high-utility phrases that sound natural and carry meaning very efficiently.
So instead of forcing the A1 learner to try and construct during the period of day following 12:0 p.m. and before 6:00 p.m.,
which would never happen.
Never. They just memorize the chunk in the afternoon.
And that immediately saves them the cognitive effort of figuring out the correct preposition, the capitalization, the phrasing. It just lets them sound more natural instantly.
Oh, the prepositions. That's a nightmare for beginners, isn't it?
It's a complete nightmare. Is it at 7 a.m. in the morning or on Monday? By providing in the morning, after work, or later that evening, as these fixed, unbreakable chunks, the instructor takes all the complexity out of describing time.
These phrases become the signposts, the temporal signposts within that chronological narrative we were talking about.
Exactly. The routine provides the framework, and these expressions provide the high-utility content to slot right into that framework. Gaining these chunks is the shortcut to sounding more fluid.
Which is exactly what the learner craves for confidence.
It bypasses that frustrating, complex, word-by-word translation process that leads to that hesitant, choppy, robotic speech.
Okay, so if the daily routine is the bedrock, is the biggest danger that they become too reliant on that single script? That they'll struggle when they have to leave the boundaries of their home?
It's a valid concern. But the foundational approach here assumes the learner will be reliant on this script, at least initially.
So that's a feature, not a bug.
It is a feature. The purpose is not immediate, wide-ranging conversational flexibility. It's immediate, successful output. They must become masters of this single, narrow topic first. Think of it like a pilot practicing takeoff and landing 1,000 times in a simulator.
Before they ever attempt complex maneuvers in a real storm.
Exactly. This script is the simulator. It provides the muscle memory that is absolutely necessary for later adaptation and creativity.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, now for the final building block in their toolkit structure. The source mentions the inclusion of simple sentence structures beginners can copy. Why is copying a structure more valuable than, say, analyzing the grammar at this stage?
Because the A1-A2 learner is already at full cognitive capacity just trying to recall the vocabulary. Asking them to simultaneously recall the words and analyze the grammatical rules behind them is a recipe for failure. It's just too much.
So the priority has to be functional production.
Always.
Instead of focusing on why the verb conjugates a certain way in the present tense, they are just encouraged to see the pattern. Subject, verb, object.
Yes. The pattern is the architectural blueprint. I wake up at 7. She goes to work at 8. They're mastering the basic template through repetition. This structural guidance is the mechanism for generating original speech, rather than just repeating pre-written phrases like a parrot.
Wait, how does copying lead to original speech? That sounds a little counterintuitive.
Well, once they truly master the pattern of I-action time, they have a sudden realization. They realize they can substitute any of the verbs or times they've learned into that structure.
And create hundreds of new sentences.
Hundreds of unique, grammatically correct sentences about their own life. It transforms their foundational vocabulary into functional, self-generated speech. It's like learning the 3 basic chords on a guitar.
G, C, and D.
Right. Once you have those down, you aren't just playing someone else's song anymore. You can start writing your own simple tunes.
And that structural framework is key to helping the beginner build confidence because it provides a reliable safety net. They aren't just guessing. They know if they follow the blueprint, the sentence will hold up.
The cognitive relief from that is enormous. The immediate safety and success reinforce the habit of speaking. It's the difference between being handed a blank sheet of paper and being handed a pre-formatted template on a slide deck.
You still have to provide the content, which is the vocabulary, but the formatting, the structure is already handled for you.
Letting you focus all your energy on the message.
So section 2 is essentially this strategic formula for foundational content. Prioritize easy, high-frequency verbs using the 80-20 rule, package them into contextual, high-utility chunks, and then provide clear, copyable sentence structures to enable immediate creation.
It's all about minimizing cognitive friction while maximizing high-quality, high-utility communicative output. It's simply the most efficient way to turn passive recognition into active, confident speech for a beginner.
Okay, so we've established the content strategy, the what. Now we have to look at the delivery method, the how, which is just as vital.
If not more so.
The source highlights a key feature here, real-life conversation between two speakers. This immediately feels different than the traditional language tape, which so often featured a single, perfectly enunciated and kind of robotic narrator.
This is a crucial pedagogical choice, a really important one. When a learner only hears a single narrator or just reads static text, they're learning an idealized, sterile version of the language.
A laboratory version.
Exactly. But hearing the language modeled in a real interaction, especially one focused on a simple daily routine between two people, exposes the learner to reality.
So what specifically does a dialogue teach that a monologue completely misses?
Pacing, intonation, conversational flow, and crucially, all the messy bits, contractions and filler words.
Right. Real English speakers don't say, I'm going to work now.
They say, I'm going to go to work now, or going to head to work. A monologue teaches vocabulary. A dialogue teaches delivery. A beginner needs to understand from day one that real English is messy, it's fast, and it uses all these reductions.
And you hear the rhythm. You realize that sometimes people interrupt each other or they use conversational markers like, or, oh, really? That understanding demystifies the language and actually prepares the beginner for a real interaction.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, hearing a dialogue between two speakers moves the knowledge from passive recognition to active comprehension. It's a huge leap.
How so?
Well, they aren't just listening for isolated vocabulary words anymore. They are comprehending an exchange, a two-way street. It's training their ear for context switching and for understanding how questions and answers interact seamlessly. This is actually a higher level skill disguised within beginner material.
And this podcast format integrates the practice immediately. The promise is listening plus speaking practice in one episode. It's not listen now, maybe practice later if you feel like it.
No. They're creating a tight, continuous feedback loop.
And that integrated practice is crucial for accelerated learning, right?
It's everything. Language skills are not isolated, they reinforce each other. The learner listens to the model, the dialogue, and then immediately applies the speaking element through repetition, reinforcing that neural pattern in real time.
The synergy there is vital. I know some studies show that when input like listening and output like speaking are really tightly coupled, the neural pathways for language production are strengthened much faster.
Your brain links the auditory input directly to the motor output that's necessary to articulate it. It's immediate confirmation that the sound and the structure can be produced correctly.
Which, again, feeds directly back into that confidence mandate we keep talking about.
Right. The learner doesn't have time to doubt themselves or forget the model before they try to reproduce it. They're using the auditory model to instantly correct their own pronunciation and rhythm.
And that leads us to the ultimate strategic goal here, the confidence mandate. The explicit objective is to build confidence and enable the learner to speak English about daily life. This is the true metric of success for this A1, A2 phase.
Yes, because confidence is the single greatest predictor of success in language acquisition. It's not about talent. At this level, the true enemy is not grammar complexity. It's performance anxiety. It's that fear that raises the effective filter.
So the whole method is designed to dismantle that anxiety.
By emphasizing consistency and low stakes.
Let's really deconstruct the core instruction that's provided in the source. It's 3 words: relax, listen, and repeat. The word relax seems almost like a throwaway, but you're saying it's foundational to the whole approach.
It's perhaps the most important word of the 3. It speaks directly to creating that low-stress environment for acquisition. When a learner's relaxed, the effective filter is lowered, period.
Learning happens more efficiently when the brain isn't focused on self-judgment.
Or pressure. By telling them to relax, the resource is setting the tone for an enjoyable, non-judgmental practice session. It's literally giving the learner permission to make mistakes.
It combats that intense, effortful focus that so many beginners adopt, where they're trying to consciously analyze every single word.
And relaxation allows the subconscious brain to just absorb the patterns. You're shifting the learner from studying, which is stressful, to mimicry, which is natural.
And then we have the classical core. Listen and repeat. This is the bedrock of auditory memory reinforcement.
It's how we all learn language as children, right? Through mimicry. But it's so powerful here because it's structured within this meaningful context.
They aren't just repeating random sounds.
No, they are repeating the natural flow, the intonation, and the rhythm of a complete, useful sentence about their own life. It's not rote practice divorced from reality. They are physically linking the action of brushing their teeth to the linguistic action of saying, I brush my teeth.
That reminds me of when I first learned to play guitar. I spent weeks just doing the GCD chord changes over and over. It was boring, but the physical repetition meant that eventually I didn't have to think about where my fingers were going.
You automated it.
Right. Repetition automates the basics.
That is precisely what is happening here. They are automating the retrieval of the subject-verb-object pattern and the high-frequency vocabulary. Once that's automated, the conscious brain is freed up to focus on the next level of complexity, like using different tenses or expressing opinions.
And finally, there's the promise that accompanies this method. Your English will improve automatically. That feels like a very powerful statement. It's designed to manage the learner's expectations, isn't it?
It is pure confidence-boosting pedagogy. It targets the learner's impatience and their self-doubt. By emphasizing the automatic improvement, they're encouraging consistent, low-effort repetition without the pressure of needing to see massive leaps every single day.
They're telling the learner to trust the process.
Exactly. Trust that exposure and repetition, when done consistently and without stress, will yield gradual but certain progress. It shifts the focus from intense, painful study sessions to passive, consistent exposure.
Just do the simple task, relax, listen, repeat, and trust that the knowledge will just seep in.
And that level of low-friction consistency is the real key to beginner success. If it's easy to do every day, they will actually stick with it long enough for those neural pathways to form. The instructors are basically saying, don't worry about the outcome. Just show up, relax, and let the methodology do the heavy lifting for you.
And that manages the anxiety and guarantees the retention that's so crucial for anyone in that A1, A2 phase. #tag outro. So we've taken this very specific language blueprint and we've extracted these universal principles of effective foundational instruction.
It really is an elegant three-part system. It's designed for maximum confidence and immediate applicability.
Let's recap it for everyone.
Sure. So the essential structure is this. First, strategic relevance. You have to start with immediate, high-frequency subject matter, in this case, daily life, to ensure maximum applicability and memory retention, all helped by that chronological structure.
Second, functional building blocks. You provide simple foundational components, that high-utility 80-20 vocabulary. You package them into contextual, high-relief phrases, the chunking, and you provide clear, copyable sentence structure so they can immediately start creating their own original speech.
And third, integrated practice. You deliver the language via a natural two-speaker dialogue to model reality, and you combine the listening and speaking practice within the same lesson to create that tight, immediate feedback loop.
And through it all, the confidence mandate is paramount, making the practice enjoyable and low stress by keeping that effective filter down.
Exactly.
And this approach, it isn't just about learning English. It is a template for acquiring any practical skill efficiently. Let's really expand on that, because I think this is the big takeaway.
I agree. If you approach learning a new skill using this model, you prioritize immediate utility over some kind of grand theoretical mastery.
Okay, so give me an example. Let's take it out of language learning completely.
Okay, think about applying this blueprint to a completely non-linguistic task, like mastering a new corporate resource management system, a piece of software. Let's call it RM Pro.
Right, the kind of software everyone hates to learn.
Exactly. If you try to learn every single admin function and advanced reporting feature on day one, you just drown. That's the B2C1 level content. You don't need it yet.
The A1, A2 blueprint would instruct you to identify the daily routine functions first. What are the, 3 to 5 things that every single employee must do in this system every single day?
It might be. Number 1, logging your time. Number 2, submitting a purchase request. And number 3, checking your current budget balance. That's it. That's your high-frequency vocabulary.
So you learn the exact screens and fields for just those 3 actions, and you deliberately ignore all the administration menus and advanced settings.
And instead of reading a 300-page PDF manual, the static text, you'd be given a simple, step-by-step video, which is the dialogue model. It shows one user successfully completing the task,
Followed by an immediate practice sandbox where you can try it yourself. The listen and repeat function.
and the simple sentence structures beginners can copy would be the clear, replicable workflow. Click Menu A, input data in field B, hit Submit button C. You don't need to know why the system generates that weird error code you saw flash on the screen. You just need to know the successful, copyable path.
That focus on immediate, low-friction application guarantees a small success, which builds the confidence you need to maybe explore the advanced features later on.
It bypasses the fear of breaking the software by giving you a proven, safe, daily script to follow. It's just the most pragmatic approach to knowledge transfer.
The entire blueprint is designed around the idea that knowledge is, well, pretty useless unless it can be applied to your real life immediately.
The daily routine, whether it's linguistic or professional, is the immediate canvas you can paint on.
So this raises an important question for you, the listener, to carry forward. If you are going to design a deep dive blueprint for your own life, focused on immediate practical confidence building, maybe for a task you currently avoid because of that effective filter, what daily routine element would you prioritize mastering first to achieve the biggest, most immediate confidence boost?
That's a great question. You have to identify the moment in your day where you feel the least prepared or you encounter the most friction. Is it, managing your personal finances? Is it trying to write a clear email to a senior manager? Or is it just starting your daily exercise routine?
That's your A1, A2 level skill gap.
That's it. Master the vocabulary and the simple structure for that one interaction, and the confidence boost from that small, consistent win will carry over into everything else you do.
That's a deep dive that truly applies to every aspect of life. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.